Hello and welcome to the cave. Today we are here to talk about one of the biggest mysteries of the Pokemon world, alien Pokemon. And while we do that, we might end up finding evidence supporting old fan theories about one of these peculiar creatures. Also, maybe a new understanding of Mega Evolution and how infinity energy manifests itself in the Pokemon world. So, in the last episode, I talked about how the Ruby and Sapphire were used to power up the Pokemon Network machine, created by Celio, one of Bill's colleagues. The Ruby and Sapphire are the true forms of the red and blue orbs. This was first mentioned in the Pokemon Adventures manga, and who was the one to reveal this? None other than Giovanni. And Team Rocket's connection to these items is related to one of those Pokemon from outer space, Deoxys. Giovanni caught Deoxys and used an amplifier powered up by the gemstones to replicate the climate of the Hoenn region in both Kanto and the Sevi Islands. This gives Deoxys full access to its 4 forms. Meanwhile, in the games, Deoxys seems to react to some kind of energy present in meteorites. This is how it is able to change to any of its forms. Why does Team Rocket wanted the Ruby and Sapphire in the games? I will explain that later. So, there seems to be a connection between the Primal Reversion Stones and Deoxys, but why? What is in the orbs? Well, we learn in Auras that Primal Reversion is just a different form of Mega Evolution, the natural version of this mechanic. Both of these processes are different potentials of Pokemon evolution and are related to infinity energy used in AC's weapon which accidentally created the Megastones. At first, this doesn't seem to have a connection with Deoxys, but let's take a look to the Pokédex. Here we see how Deoxys mutated from a virus after being irradiated by a laser. Many fans have speculated that this laser was actually the ultimate weapon created by AC 3000 years ago, and I think this is a strong possibility. First, this hypothesis says that the energy fired from AC's weapon reached a meteor, causing its resident, a virus, to mutate into Deoxys. Similar to what it did to the evolutionary stones that turned into Megastones, as explained by Professor Sycamore. He even uses the word light to describe the blast of the weapon, and the word laser means light amplification by a stimulated emission of radiation, electromagnetic radiation to be precise. How could this radiation give life to Deoxys? Well, the energy from the ultimate weapon is the life force of Pokemon, which was also capable of reviving AC's Floette. What evidence is there for this idea of a meteor being hit by the infinity energy beam? Well, we have the Delta episode, the post-game mission from Auras that completely changed how we see the lore of the Pokemon world. The climax of this episode happens in outer space, during a battle between the players Rayquaza and Deoxys. Before this battle takes place, Zinnia explains the myths of the Draconet people. She tells the story of how thousands of years ago the primal Pokemon fought over the natural energy pouring from beneath the earth. And while this was happening, a storm of meteoroids fell upon what now is known as the Meteor Falls, home of the Draconets. The meteors shone with a rainbow light, and in response to their light, Rayquaza descended from the heavens and stopped Groudon and Kyogre, solving the crisis. A thousand years passed, and a new storm of meteoroids reached the Earth. One of those meteoroids struck the planet, leaving a crater where now Zootopolis is located. This caused a great upswell of natural energy, waking up the primal Pokémon once again. Rayquaza came down from the skies, and the people of the Meteor Falls made a wish for salvation. This wish caused Rayquaza to Mega Evolve for the first time. Then the legendary dragon fought the primal Pokémon, saving the world. AC was there, and he explained that Rayquaza was the Delta, born from the power of the stones, and humanity's wish. Then the Draconets built the Sky Pillar and prophesied that 1,000 years later the meteoroids will come back. One of those is the meteor containing Deoxys. This means that the first time Rayquaza Mega Evolved was 1,000 years ago, and it appeared for the first time 2,000 years ago. If the meteors pass by the Earth every 1,000 years, this means that the previous occasion to these two was around 3,000 years ago. This is around the same time AC's weapon was fired in the Kalos region. Leaving Deoxys aside for a moment, what I was just talking about gives us new information about a particular mythical Pokémon. The meteor shower mentioned in the myths of the Draconet people is the one known as the Leonids. Zinnia even mentions their name at the Sky Pillar. According to different translations of the game, this meteor shower comes to the Earth from a distant point of a constellation named Leo. But their case is not the first time we hear in the franchise about meteors visiting our planet once a millennium. In the movie Jirachi Wishmaker, there is a comet, known as the Millennium Comet. Every 1,000 years it appears as a celestial body over the Hoenn region during the course of a week. The arrival of the comet announces Jirachi's awakening. During the 7 days the comet is visible in the sky of the region, Jirachi is able to grant wishes, absorb the energy from the comet, and then goes to sleep for the next 1,000 years. I guess you can already tell where I'm going with this. 3,000 years ago, AC fired his ultimate weapon. The light reached outer space, and the meteors that were passing by the Earth. Between them, the Millennium Comet. The radiation of the weapon caused a virus to mutate and impregnated some of the meteors with infinity energy. The virus transforms into Deoxys, the first Delta Pokémon. Not only the stone from which Deoxys emerges has the same shape as the Greek letter. In the manga, Deoxys uses a combination of both light screen and reflect to create a pyramid around its body. This protection is called the Delta Shield. One of those extraterrestrial stones fell to the Earth 1,000 years later, and the energy irradiated from the meteor called the attention of Rayquaza. That energy was infinity energy, and the stone was named by the Draconets as the Rainbow Stone. Another 1,000 years passed, and the Earth was hit by a giant meteoroid coming from the Leonids. The people of the Draconet clan wished for salvation, provoking Rayquaza to Mega Evolve. It is possible that during this event, Jirachi arrived to the Earth and made that wish come true, making Rayquaza Mega Evolve, probably giving the Mikado organ the ability to merge the infinity energy from the meteors the legendary Pokémon ate with its internal energy. And now, 1,000 years passed, and another meteor is heading towards the Earth, the Grand Meteor Delta, bringing Deoxys to the Earth. But there is more, because, as mentioned by the player's mother in the Delta episode, there was a smaller meteor shower coming from the Leonids 11 or 12 years before, depending in which language you are playing. First, 11 to 12 years is a really small period of time compared to the 1,000 years it takes the Leonids to reach the Earth. But, not to forget, we know that 1,000 years before, one of the big meteors of the shower fell to the Earth. The absence of this big meteoroid could have caused a change in the trajectory of some of the other meteoroids due to changes in the gravitational field. Those affected will reach the Earth a decade earlier, and the Millennium Comet was one of them. We have evidence of this. If you go to Shelly's room in Teen Aqua's hideout, you'll find a picture of her when she was younger with Archie and Jirachi. The date mentioned in the photo is the 7th of July, the day of the Tanabata festival, celebration which inspired Jirachi's design. The year seems to be 2002, the year that the original Ruby and Sapphire games were released in Japan, and also 12 years before the release of Horas. Same period of time as the last visit of the Leonids. It was Jirachi all along. Probably this also explains the origins of Starmie. Many have speculated about Starmie and Deoxys being born from the same virus. The Pokédex states that Starmie seems to have come from space, same as Deoxys. Staryu's Pokédex entry even mentions how it can regenerate its limbs, same as Deoxys. Also, we know that at night, Starmie points toward the sky and sends from its core electromagnetic waves into space, like if it was trying to communicate with something. Meanwhile, in the anime, Deoxys uses auroras, electromagnetic waves, to communicate with other Deoxys. So probably Deoxys was created by the blast of the weapon, while Starmie fell to the earth untouched, traveling in the comet shards and stardust it usually holds when captured, and evolved from the same virus. Remember that at the beginning of the video I promised a new understanding of how infinity energy works. I got a surprise for you. Just as Unknown, Starmie, Necrozma and now Deoxys, infinity energy uses electromagnetic waves. Professor Sycamore describes the infinity energy from the ultimate weapon as light. Then he explains that Mega Rings and the Sundial work with light, and he even uses the word wavelengths. So what's the Mega Ring you're holding? That mysterious stone transforms feelings felt towards Pokémon into some kind of wavelength. The Mega Ring works in a similar way to how this object over here works. It is an object that changes sunlight into a mysterious light. Its relationship to the Mega Ring isn't understood at all yet. As previously said, the ultimate weapon is a laser. This is light amplified through a stimulated emission of electromagnetic radiation. So let's talk about the electromagnetic spectrum, the range of frequencies of electromagnetic radiation that matter can emit or absorb. There are different types of electromagnetic radiation. Depending on their wavelength, these frequencies have different properties and receive different names. From lower to higher frequency or longer to shorter wavelength, radio waves, microwaves, terahertz, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays and gamma rays. So yeah, infinity energy was described as light, and visible light is a type of electromagnetic radiation. The ultimate weapon was also a laser, and lasers are not always of light. They can be infrared lasers, ultraviolet lasers, X-ray lasers, and even gamma-ray lasers. And guess what? X-rays and gamma rays can cause different types of molecular damage, and any type of biomolecule is susceptible to them, leading to the possibility of diseases or even mutation. Infinity energy manifests itself in the Pokémon world as electromagnetic radiation. This electromagnetic radiation was what caused Deoxys to mutate. This is why it uses auroras for communication, as auroras appear in the sky because of the contact of magnetospheric plasma with our Earth's magnetic field. Sycamore mentioned that Mega Rings transform feelings in wavelengths. Same may happen with Necrozma's power, as it is constantly referred to as light. Necrozma is seen obtaining energy from its trainer, similar to the Mega Rings, and that light is what created the Sea Crystals, similar to Ace's weapon with the Mega Stones. And both Necrozma and Infinity Energy are used to open warp holes. And if the fans are right about Unknown helping Arceus to create the Pokémon world, that explains why they use radio waves to communicate with each other. And thanks to Eduardo, a fellow theorist, for pointing this to me. Unknown use radio waves because those are in the lower end of the electromagnetic spectrum. This reinforces the idea that they are connected with the possibility of physical existence, and not only Mega Evolution and Primal Reversion depend on Infinity Energy to happen, same happens with regular evolution. How do we know this? At the beginning of this theory I didn't explain the reason why Team Rocket wanted the Primal Reversion stones in Fire Red and Leaf Green. They needed the stones for their research, the one we can read after beating the two admins of the team. One of them is a male, the other a female with red hair. These two are none others than Archer and Ariana, the executives leading Team Rocket in the Johto games. And what is their research about? It is about how they can influence Pokémon evolution with magnetic waves. Research they will test 3 years later in Johto, where they forced a Magikarp to evolve into a red Gyarados.